Hey, what's going on? JD here, and I've got a quick travel tip for you on how to save some money while utilizing your cell phone on your trip to Singapore. So if you've been watching the vlog, you've noticed that I was traveling through both Singapore and Malaysia, and throughout that time I used my cell phone on a regular basis with quite heavy usage. If I had used my plan that I have here in Canada, I would have been charged through the roof when I got back. So in order to avoid some very, very heavy charges, this is what I did. Number one, as soon as I got on the plane is essentially I turned, of course, the phone into airplane mode, and I never took it out of airplane mode until basically I got to Singapore and did what I'm about to tell you now. So ultimately, when I landed in San Francisco and we were in the States, I left it in airplane mode. Some of the guys that I were traveling with obviously turned on their phones. I simply used the free Wi-Fi in the airport. But the guys that turned on their phones would often get messages from their service providers, whether it be Fido, Rogers, Bell, whichever service provider that you happen to have, and basically indicating that they knew that you were out of the country and that you could click on roaming. And some of the guys did that, and it became quite expensive. What I did instead was I picked up one of these, and what this is a travel SIM card that is available quite readily. You can get it at 7-Eleven's M1 stores, which is one of the mobile providers in Singapore, as well as at Changi Airport at all the terminals. So we went to the terminal, we picked this up. I picked up a $50 for basically 100 gigs of data, which is a huge amount of data. But I expected to be using it a lot because I knew a lot of the people that I was going to be in communication with would be using applications like WhatsApp, as well as, sending a lot of information, emails, and communicating with back home. The nice thing about the M1 card was that it included basically some roaming data, because I knew I was going to Malaysia for a little while. It included 5 gigabytes of roaming data, which I thought was good. It gave me the ability to use the card there as well. I had over 3,000 minutes of calls on this card, as well as 5,000 SMS messages if I wanted to text message. Further to that, it gave me a local contact number so I could give out my phone number so people could call me, as well as basically I had 50 minutes of long distance calling. So for the $50, it was actually quite a decent deal, but there are better deals to be had out there. And we didn't know this until we essentially got there. I had picked this up at the airport and I had some difficulties once I had switched my SIMs connecting, so I went to the M1 store at Bugis Junction, which is a big shopping area in Singapore. We went to the M1 mobile store. We talked with the gentleman there and he had me set up and in no time. However, one of my other travel companions basically picked up what was known as a prepaid card. So you can pick up prepaid cards. You don't have to pick up one of these travel cards, SIM cards. You don't have to do that. And that's not really something that is widely advertised. And if you pick up a prepaid card, it will be essentially much cheaper, depending on your uses, for you in the long run. So ultimately, for a prepaid card, you can spend $15. You will get about 2 gigs of data, which is significantly less than the 100 gigabytes here, but ultimately, how much are you going to use? I know a lot of people tend to use a lot less of that data on a regular basis. If you're just there for a couple weeks, 2 gigs could suffice. And with a $15 card, you're getting $15 of credit towards the service, so you can use that for phone calls, text messaging, whatever you would like to do, or you can use that money to buy additional data. And for about $14, you can get an extra 2 gigs. So essentially, for $15, you can get 4 gigs of data, and that's what most people, I think, will use when traveling. However, you can, like I said, you can split it up. You can use it for phone calls and text messaging and so on. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I think that the tourist the tourist SIM cards are something that you should look into. They will ultimately save you a lot of money, a lot of roaming charges, expensive data, and so forth. And all you have to remember is that you're going to need your passport. They're going to ask to see your passport in order to get this, because they want to establish that you are in fact visiting the country, because data in Singapore is actually fairly expensive by their standards or by cell phone standards over there. So make sure, bring your passport, and those are your couple options. So there you go. The tourist SIM card, you can pick those up, throw them in your phone. You will save yourself a whole bunch of money and enjoy your trip. Be connected with Instagram, Facebook. The coverage is really well. I had no issues with roaming when we were in Malaysia. Again, seamless sort of transfer, and ultimately at the end of the day was able to enjoy the trip, keep connected on social media, and had a good time. And in fact, you know, with the amount of data that I had, I even did a few live streams via my phone to YouTube. So that's my quick tip. And until next time, see ya.